Sure. Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Rahul Arulkumaran, who is the co-founder at Vidya, an Edtech startup. Hi Rahul, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Thank you so much for having me here. How are
Rahul,
you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Rahul, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Yeah. Sure, Priya. So, hi everyone. I'm Rahul Arulkumaran, the co-founder at Vidya, as Priya just mentioned. I'm a recent BTech graduate, so I just completed my undergraduation from Mahindra University about like 3-4 months back. So yeah, I mean, it took a long time to get done with it, primarily because of COVID. So our exams got postponed, and we really had to wait for a long time. But yeah, I mean, I'm a recent graduate from Mahindra University. I have completed my bachelor's in computer science and engineering. That's pretty much about the aspect of the technical side, or you could say my study wise. But apart from that, I'm a hardcore foodie. I love eating. I love food. I love preparing new dishes and trying out new dishes. And I'm also an avid gamer, so I keep playing a lot of games like COD Mobile and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Okay. Rahul, tell us about the venture you are building. What is it about? What does it do?
Sure. So ideally, at Vidya, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make industrial experiences more accessible and affordable for literally everyone around the world. So the idea behind Vidya is that not everyone or not every learner or student gets a chance to get that real-time industrial exposure, right? Because jobs and internships, sure, you have them, but then you don't have adequate number for everyone, right? So what we're trying to do is one of the best ways to get that industrial experience, one of the best ways to actually understand how the industry works is to do an internship. But again, not everyone gets it. So we essentially are tying up with other companies and startups across different verticals. We take up real-time projects from them and put it forward in a gamified and progressive manner for our users to solve. So ideally over here, learners do not have to worry about applying for an internship. So they can just come onto our platform, solve some real-time tasks, get an understanding of what it requires to be a part of XYZ industry. So for example, there might be someone who's interested in machine learning, but he or she might be from the mechanical stream, right? And it's not easy for a lot of people to get an internship in these domains if you're from a different stream apart from computer science, something like that. So we just try to make it more accessible for everyone. So you don't really have to worry about applying for internships. Come onto our platform, solve different projects which we call as missions, and yeah, you get the taste of the industry. So that's what we do. We try to bring real-time industrial exposure and make it accessible for literally everyone across the globe.
Well, I think that is a very interesting problem you're solving, and very real problem as well. Uh, can you tell us what kind of traction you have got in terms of the impact and the number of student enrolled, etc.?
Sure. This is actually a very interesting thing. So you wouldn't believe me, but like we were pretty much about to shut shop with Vidya. So we thought we were, because we weren't getting enough traction until October last year, until October 2020. So this was something that my co-founder and I have been working on for about 1.5-2 years now, almost. And yeah, I mean, like primarily the first 12 to 14 months were just ideation. So, we were trying to conduct offline trials, just trying to understand the market, understand the problems faced by people in a better manner. And then, also at the same time, my co-founder and I were supposed to go for masters as well. So that's, since we didn't get traction by that time, we thought we might as well, just shut shop. But then COVID happened, the lockdown was announced, and we kind of knew that it was the right time to get our product out. So we built a quick MVP around what we wanted to do. So we decided on March 25th that we wanted to, get an MVP out, and by April first week we actually had an MVP out. And then after that as well, the traction was really low because we were very conservative about the type of audience we had, because we want to understand exactly who we want to understand more user reviews and interact with our users in a better manner. So until October we had only 670 users, to be precise 669. And but yeah, I mean, since then we've increased our user base by 1,500%. So today we're at about 10,000 users using our platform, out of which 50% of them are active users. And we've completed over 5 lakh project hours on our platform, with over 2,500 to 3,000 projects completed on the whole on our platform, and about 25 to 30,000 tasks, individual tasks being completed. So yeah, I mean, the last 4 months have been great for us. Touch wood, so, not jinxing that, but yeah, I mean, this has been the traction so far. So the growth that we've seen majorly has come forward in the last 4 months since we've got things through.
Okay. One thing I'm very curious to know is that how do you manage your time, since you mentioned you are already you was enrolled in a full-time graduate course as well. How do you manage your time between entrepreneurship and being a student?
Right. So, I mean, the thing is that I initially thought I was going to be doing that course, but then after a point, I didn't. I decided to drop out of that course because Vidya started moving, and it really required a lot of time, from our end, because managing both the things was really hectic for after a point. I mean, I could probably do like a couple of courses, but after a point, it got really hectic. So, yeah, I mean, I decided to take a break on that. So I decided that, I'll be focusing full time on Vidya right now. And eventually, probably a few years down the line, I would be looking at continuing my graduate program again.
Okay. Let's now go to your first day of entrepreneurship. Tell us how this idea came into existence. Who thought of the this idea, and who proposed whom, and how did you come up with a team and plan to build this venture?
Sure, definitely. So the thing was that um, the idea, as I mentioned, we got this idea about 2 years back. And it was primarily because at that moment in time, I was struggling to find internships. Not because I did not have the knowledge, but then it was primarily because I didn't have that cutoff grade. So majorly the internships that I was interested in, they were looking at a certain cutoff grade, like they wanted a GPA above 9, or a percentile above 90%, 95%, which was, I think, unrealistic in a certain sense. So we I pretty much struggled like for months. I couldn't find an internship, but I mean, I was confident enough that I had much more technical knowledge than most of the people in my batch, at least in my college at least. So that was something that I was certain about. But this fact that I wasn't getting an internship constantly demotivated me in a certain sense. It made me question whether I'm good enough at what I do or not. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was actually the starting point of Vidya. And then at that point in time, I thought, what if there was a product which could actually help us get that experience without actually having to worry about applying for internships and all of that? Because as a student, as a learner, your primary job is to learn and not spend so much time just on applications, right? And again, at the same time, like every application is a different application. So if you're applying for multiple roles, you'll have to dedicate like hours together, like probably an hour or two, to actually fill that application up. But then that kind of deprives the learner of his or her learning time. So this was a starting point about 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years back. And at that point in time, so the college that I come from was like a residential college. So I had a roommate as well, who also happens to be my current co-founder. His name is Rishabh Singh. So I spoke to Rishabh about this, and surprisingly, he was also facing the same issue at that point in time. So he also had much more knowledge than most of the people in our batch with respect to a certain other domain. So he comes more from the non-technical background. But then he was again finding it tough to find internships as well. So we thought, why not actually do something about it? Since there's nothing that can actually help us out, let's try to figure something out. Let's try to build something for more people out there. But we weren't sure if everyone was facing that problem. The only starting point that we had was that in one room where two people stayed, both of us face the same problem. So we thought, okay, surely, I mean, there should be more people who actually face a similar problem. So we quickly put out an Instagram survey to find out whether people actually face this issue. And it turned out that 500 people took the survey from both our accounts combined, and 99% of the people actually faced an issue like this at least once during their college life. So it made sense for us. So that was our basic initial stage of actually figuring out that, right, we need to get this out. So yeah, I mean, that's how it started. Coming to the team, it's been a really difficult task to find a team, primarily because revenues are always fluctuating on a monthly basis for us. So, it becomes really tough to uh, manage full-time employees and all of that. But yeah, as of now, we're just a team of three people. It's me, Rahul, and Rishabh, my co-founder, and another person named Satya who works with us on a part-time basis. So we're just three people, and yeah, the interesting thing over here is that we've never really met Satya. So I mean, like, we've never really seen him per se, like physically. We just talk over calls. But yeah, I mean, he's been a great addition to the team. He's like one of the most integral members in our team, and we three manage, the whole aspects, the length and breadth of Vidya, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about it.
Tell us about the financial runway part. To manage a process, you would need support in terms of finances as well. How did you manage that in the initial days?
Right. So honestly, the financial aspect is definitely very difficult aspect to manage because I mean, as I mentioned, right, in the early stages, it's so inconsistent. So you can't really predict how much revenue you're going to get on a monthly basis, right? So it's just so inconsistent. There have been months where we've got like over 50K in revenue, and there have been months where we've literally got nothing. So honestly, even now, our revenue has been a little inconsistent here and there, but somehow we make sure that we generate a profit on a monthly basis through complementary services that we provide. Like, we host a lot of workshops, we host a lot of other fellowship initiatives and other internship initiatives. But yeah, I mean, a lot of them are free, but then these things actually form the base for us to convert more people to join our workshops, to join our other services like mentorship services and all of that. So currently we haven't monetized the platform per se, but we do offer complementary services that actually help us generate that revenue to keep us flowing, on a monthly basis and generate some profit over that. Sure. I mean, in the beginning, my co-founder and I, we put in like a founder's fund, and we just made sure that that's like an emergency fund, that we have just in case we run dry our finances on a particular month. But luckily, we haven't really touched that yet, so that's a good thing. But we've been, earning enough so that we can sustain. So our idea right now is to make sure that we first get that traction and then slowly convert that traction into paying users. And probably once that happens, then we could look for investments. But obviously, right now it doesn't make sense for us to look for investments because we haven't really showed the profit margins that investors would like. So we're just surviving on the recurring revenue that we keep getting through workshops and other complementary services as of now.
What is your vision with this product or the venture you are building? Where do you want to take it in the long run?
Right. That's actually a great question. So, we keep asking ourselves exactly where we want to go as well. Like, we keep asking us that almost every day so that, we are clear about it. And honestly speaking, our idea for this is to make sure that, people don't really have to worry about applying for that internship. For example, now the way we function is not just serving customers out there, like users, I mean, like students and other learners, but then we also focus on helping businesses hire quality talent. Because obviously, like, when a company gives us a task and we put it forward on our platform, the company also gets an understanding of how many people are actually aligned towards their company, how well this particular learner or potential candidate is actually solving their particular tasks, right? So it also helps the company in a certain sense. So ideally, what we want to do is we want to build a learner's profile for each and every learner out there, so that they can focus just on learning, so they can understand what are their core skills, what roles they could possibly be applying to. They don't really have to worry about applying to multiple internships separately, because we take care of that for them. So the idea is to basically make the entire learning process more fun, engaging, and interesting. From the student side, we just want to make it more gamified and engaging, because we see like, a lot of we see a lot of video based approaches being adopted by Coursera, by edX. We have so many platforms out there that adopt a video based approach, but then the retention rates are not as high, right? We do have short videos and all of that, but people now are looking for a practical learning approach. So we want to become that one stop solution, one stop platform where people can just come on board, solve things on the go. And as I mentioned, since I'm an avid gamer, I'm looking at, involving as many gamified concepts as possible into Vidya as well. Um, so yeah, we just want to build a more engaging platform where learners focus on learning purely, and we take care of getting them internships and job opportunities while also helping companies hire quality talent, making sure that they spend lesser time and money on finding the right set of people for their organization.
Okay. So let me ask you a much deeper question, Rahul. Being a stakeholder of education and skill development industry, can you tell us what is wrong with this industry right now and where this industry is headed? When I ask this question, I am more focused towards the Indian context, in the Indian education system and new private entities that are coming up, including the ones who are teaching coding to the kids, etc. So just share a very broad view or thought you have on this topic.
Sure. That's actually another amazing question. So, I think one major problem that we're seeing right now is that although we have so many resources out there, we have n number of edtech portals out there which teach almost every topic that's available to learn, right? But still, we see that learners are not able to find the right jobs for them, because according to a survey done last year, um, by the All India Council for Technology Education, almost 33% of the graduates were unemployed. So that's a huge number in a country like India. A 33% graduate unemployment rate speaks volumes about a lot of things. It raises a lot of questions as to what is wrong, right? And primarily, if you notice, according to what we have analyzed and assessed, I mean, every edtech platform out there is focusing so much on the theoretical aspects that people forget that there's a practical aspect that requires that one requires to be a part of the industry, right? I mean, now for example, I might learn n number of concepts probably just through a video, but then I wouldn't know how well I can actually perform those, or how well I can execute those things until I actually get my hands dirty, right? So I mean, that's one huge gap that exists in the market. Um, Again, colleges as well. We do have colleges that provide us with labs and all of that, but it doesn't really give us the exact sense of how it feels to be a part of the industry. The best way, the closest way through which you can get that experience of the industry is through an internship. And again, as I mentioned, not everyone gets one. So I mean, yeah, the biggest problem right now in the industry is that theoretical knowledge is being given a lot of emphasis, but people are slowly realizing that people want more from it. So, I mean, it's more like an evolution that's happening. So, when initially we had platforms, give up video based learning content, uh, we had like we had about 10 videos for every course, and each video was for like an hour or so. And then slowly, companies revolutionized on that, and they started making each and every video into multiple modules within which you had shorter videos. But now people have realized that that is also not working for them, so they're looking for more a more practical sense of things, because they want to get their hands dirty. So yeah, I mean, we can see the change happening, but it's definitely a long one. It's going to take some time to get there. But sure, this is one issue that people usually. I mean, this is one thing that the edutech industry right now at least is should be focusing on, a task-based learning approach. And coming to like children learning coding and all, sure, it would definitely help them, because it gives them a path, probably yeah, it definitely gives them a path with respect to how they should be going about things. But again, children are children. They're not sure about what exactly they want to do, right? They're 6 years old, they might be 10 years old, but then I wanted to be a pilot when I was 10 years old. So I mean, our interests don't always remain the same. So it's all about making sure that things are done at the right time. Sure, I mean, if you're interested in coding and you've actually learned coding when you were from your 6th grade, or from the time you were 6 years old, it would definitely give one a head start. But again, it depends on people's interests.
Okay. Now, coming back to a regular discussion, tell us what are the challenges and failures you have gone through as an entrepreneur so far.
Sure. Challenges and failures, I think, we faced a lot of them. I mean, initially we thought that, just getting an idea up and having a nice idea is actually going to help us get some investment. And, we were just on that track to, secure some investment and all of that. But every time we knocked on an investor's door, or, we sent them an email, we never got a response back because we didn't have anything solid to prove. Right. So as entrepreneurs, it really took us a lot of time to realize a lot of things because we made our own share of mistakes. And it made sense because obviously no investor wants to invest right away in an early in just an idea stage startup, right? So that was one thing. So we try to understand why investors didn't want to invest, and we try to understand that aspect. And that's when we realized that sure, we don't really have enough profitability or revenue to actually benefit an investor coming on board. So that's when we actually started focusing on generating more revenue on a monthly basis. And apart from that, one major drawback, one major challenge, or setback that we have faced was when we actually started off with the idea. So we spoke to a couple of people in the very beginning, and almost everyone shot the idea down the barn. They were like, this won't work, don't waste your time, it's not going to work at all. And I mean, that obviously uh, creates an impact in you. It kind of makes you question your own decision as to whether this was a right idea to actually pursue. But somehow, my co-founder and I, we were there for each other, and we just told each other that let's give it a try, because you never know what might happen, right? And obviously, I mean, sure, probably they were wrong, I could say, because if they weren't wrong, then we wouldn't have had any users as of now. But yeah, I mean, it's something that constantly held us back in the very beginning, because we would question ourselves at every step. Probably they were right. Probably they were right. It took us a very long time to come to that conclusion, or make sure that we put that question behind our head and start just moving forward. I mean, even if we fail, but then we learn something out of it. Um, that was one huge thing that we actually encountered in the very beginning, because it took us a lot of time to get productive. It kind of hampered our productivity. It hampered our line of thought. It hampered a lot of things for us on both a personal and professional line, because when no one had confidence in the idea, it wouldn't. I mean, obviously, if people keep saying that it doesn't make sense to have this product, and we even get it out, there's always that huge thing of people not using the product, right? So that kind of held us back a lot. And also, another major failure was that there was this one time where we were really upset about the number of users that we had. So as I mentioned, until October we had just 670 users, right? And that's something that doesn't really speak a lot about the company. So we wouldn't really know whether people actually like the product or not. So we constantly tried to do so many things. We tried putting out advertisements, we tried a couple of paid marketing strategies, but nothing ever worked. I mean, like, we constantly thought, okay, and again, the question kicked us back whether we were right in getting this product out, because even after doing that marketing, and if people weren't really using the product, it obviously gets back to that question of whether this is a good idea, whether it's at the right time, and things like that. But somehow we got out of that phase. So it's so majorly all our challenges have been revolving around self confidence. That ability to stay focused on building the product even when we're low, right? So that's I mean, that's something that we face, and we still do face. I mean, on almost on a weekly basis, there have been so many days where we keep where we just are demotivated, or we just aren't sure about what's the next thing, how do we go ahead. There are so many questions that keep revolving in the head. But then after a point, we just get used to it. I mean, I think those questions are good in a way for us, because it kind of helps us think about the product in a different manner. It gives us a vision, it gives us a better roadmap for the product. It helps us understand where we want to take the product. So those questions aren't bad per se, but sure, they are setbacks nevertheless, right? Because They keep, haunting us on the back of our heads, right? So all the time. But yeah, these are majorly all of our setbacks have been, the self-confidence aspect and things like that. Honestly, failures, we we really haven't. I wouldn't call anything a failure per se, because we really haven't faced. We really haven't come to that stage where we can look at a major failure, right? I think one huge challenge that we face, or one failure that you could say that we've come across as of now, would probably be on the team building aspect. Because in the very beginning, we weren't able to find the right set of people to build the product for us. So, we tried hiring interns, we tried hiring, part-time employees, but no one really struck the chord. So we wanted to get our MVP out much before, but we literally had to redo the platform about 3 to 4 times before we came up with the right MVP. Because honestly, the 3 to 4 times prior to that, we couldn't find the right set of people to build the product along with us. So at that point in time, I wasn't really keen on designing, and I wasn't a designer per se. So I was more of this person who could take care of the back end stuff, building APIs, making sure that the product runs on the back end. But I really didn't have a great design sense. So we really needed help on that front, but we really never got anyone, even after spending money and spending time with people. And that's when I realized this is not going to happen. So we just decided to learn designing, learn some UI UX designing on our own, and get things out. But yeah, coming to that, one big aspect, one major aspect where we failed was probably to get our MVP out in the right time. Had we got it out a little earlier, we would have probably been a little ahead of where we are currently. But no regrets, right? End of the day, we just learned how to keep going, and that kind of helped us go through.
Wow, I think you have overcome a good amount of hurdles till now, and self doubt is kind of the biggest hurdle for any entrepreneur out there. Uh, uh, Having said that, I would like to understand what are some of the interesting lessons you have learned as an entrepreneur so far, which can shorten the learning curve of other entrepreneurs who are just starting out like you.
Sure. I think one thing that we one mistake that we made was that we took a very long time to build our MVP and get it out in the market. So one thing that I would really encourage all other entrepreneurs to follow is that when you have an idea, no matter how bad your designing skills are, no matter how bad your development skills are, just get an MVP out there, because you will never know if people are going to use a product, or if people are actually going interested in your product until you have some users using it. Get some feedback from them, understand what could be better, and then you can definitely rework from there, right? Because there's no stopping. So you have an idea, get an MVP out. That's when you actually understand whether people want to use a product. So that would definitely be one thing. You have an idea, definitely get an MVP out, because you will never know if your product is going to work or not until you get it out. Secondly, I can't really stress a lot on this, because this is actually, I think, the most important aspect for a startup. When you're building a startup, make sure that you find the right set of people to build it with. For us, I think what really struck was the relationship between me and my co-founder. So since we were roommates prior to starting up, we had like that really close bonding among us, between us. um, we literally knew everything about each other. So we knew how we would react to each other, we knew how we would uh, take things up, and we knew about each other's skills. And the best part is that we complement each other. It's not like he's also a tech person and I'm also a tech person. No, I'm a tech person and he's someone who comes from the non-technical background. So it's all about finding the right set of people, because as a startup you might not always have enough funds to hire full-time people. You will not have funds to get people on the go as well. It's going to be a really tough job. So end of the day, your product or your startup is going to be only as good as the team that's going to be building it. So make sure that you have the right set of people that you're working with, because as I mentioned, self-doubt is something that constantly exists in the heads of an entrepreneur, right? And you need that person who can help you get out of that. Because as co-founders, I think the job is not just to build something together, but it's also to support each other during the lows and highs, right? So yeah, definitely having the right set of people working with you is one thing that I would stress on. And I think it's one of the most important things again. So yeah, that's another thing. Thirdly, so a lot of people keep asking me, I don't have money. How can I? Is it how can I start up? How can I build my own startup when I have no money? Will investors be interested in funding my idea right away? Honestly, the answer I think is no, because investors also want to see a sense of profitability in any idea, right? It took us a long time to actually get here, and there are so many ways through which you can generate revenue. You don't always need to be dependent on an investor's money, right? So, I mean, if you don't have money, if you're not putting in any money from your own pocket, try to generate revenue. I mean, the simplest way, depending on what domain you're in, there might be so many aspects that could help you generate some quick revenue, and just make sure that you use that, balance some funds within the organization. Probably you could hire people through that itself, and get people on board. And if you don't have enough money to pay people to onboard them, just make sure that you can give them a certain equity, because end of the day, obviously there are going to be people who are motivated enough to come into this domain, into the whole startup ecosystem, because startups are always like high risk high reward things. So it's obviously, if it clicks like, it just shoots up, right? So yeah, I mean, focus on building revenue streams even before connecting with an investor, because honestly, even if you do connect with an investor, they'll be like, yeah, it's a good idea, or they might say that they're not interested, but no one's really going to invest right away until and unless the idea you're working on has never been heard about before and they feel it's revolutionary. So yeah, I mean, primarily just focus on building your product, make sure that you get your ideation stage sorted, get an MVP out, and just build the right set of people. It need not be like tens, or you need not have like 10, 15, 20 people. Even 4 to 5 people who are keen on working on the product are sufficient to actually build it through. So yeah, these are a few things that I would definitely convey to people out there if they're interested in starting up. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Um, Having said that, I'd like to close this session on this note. I am done with the questions. Rahul, is there any final message you want to leave before we end?
Just one thing. I mean, like, I would urge everyone to, if you're looking at starting up, make sure that you get your product out there as soon as possible. I mean, as I mentioned, I can't stress enough on this, but this is one of the most important aspects. That because that's how you get to know if users are going to use your product, and there's no point in spending time on a product if people are not going to use it, right? So if you get your MVP out quickly, you know whether people are going to use it or not. If they're going to use it, scale up, build a better version of it, keep iterating through it. If you think they're not going to use it, just shut shop and probably focus on building something else eventually, right? So it saves a lot of time, and it saves a lot of efforts as well. So yeah, I mean, you have an idea, just go out there, build it, get it to market, and see what people have to say, and keep listening to your users. That's pretty much what I'd say.
Okay, listeners, if you are watching or hearing to us, do follow Rahul on LinkedIn by typing Rahul Arulkumaran. That is it for today's episode. We'll be back with another exciting entrepreneur. Stay tuned to ELI, and as Rahul mentioned, work on your MVP. Take care.